Hi, and welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine. I am coming to you from Berlin, Germany, which is where I grew up and where I now live with my husband and our 3 kids. This is a slow fashion podcast focusing primarily on knitting. And today we have another special episode coming up, or I am recording another special episode for you. So this is not going to be a sort of proper usual podcast format kind of thing, but today I'm coming to you with number 2 of all of my shawls. I am presenting all of the shawls that I've knit so far that are not Stephen West patterns. If you want to see the shawls that I've knit that are Stephen West patterns, please go back to my previous video, which I'm going to link down below for you, just like along with everything else that I'm talking about, that I mentioned, all the patterns, the designers, the Ravelry pages, the where you can find me and all that jazz. All of this is going to be below this video in the show notes for you. And I'm also linking the previous episodes of this channel that I refer back to. So as I explained in that last video, I decided to divide my pile of shawls somewhat in two. So yes, in two, but somewhat down the middle. And one half of it is my Stephen West shawl collection, if you will. And the other half is all the other shawls that I've knit. I used to knit quite a lot of shawls, I assume. Not so many. You'll see in a bit. But I used to be more of a shawl knitter, I think is what I'm saying, until I became a garment knitter. And that sort of took my heart and carried me away. But now, interestingly, right now, and I'm recording this video a little bit ahead of time, so I don't know all the projects that you will have seen by now. But I'm assuming this video will air soon, so I am really on a shawl knitting kick somewhat again, largely inspired by my efforts and desire to stash bust. So, and to just reduce my stash a little bit, especially deep stash. So I'm whipping up shawl projects again, and I haven't in quite a while. I mean, I have knit shawls over the years, but not as many as I used to. So that's sort of where I'm going with this. And now I pulled out my somewhat older shawls because the Stephen West ones tend to be a little newer, and the ones that I knit before, some of them are really pre my Ravelry time and before the time I even knew that something like hand dyers existed, and also the shawls that I knit before I came such a daily knitter, like you would say, knitter with a capital K, like someone who knits, every chance that they have. So that is actually pretty fun today for me to like go back to these pieces that I still do wear. Some of them a lot, some of them every once in a while, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So if this is something that seems interesting to you, then stick here with me. Then just join me, and and I'll get started. I think I will again go about this. This is where my pile of shawls is, chronologically, like I did last time, just so to give myself a little bit of a structure and some orientation, if that doesn't sound totally crazy talking about shawls. But anyway, so I'm starting with, actually a scarf. And this is an interesting piece because I'm going to show you. That's what it is. This is a half. So in German, you would say Halbpatent. This is brioche, as you can see, but not all the way. So you don't pick up and yarn over and then knit another stitch with its yarn over and then, start from there, but you only yarn over every other stitch. And so you get a sort of a half that brioche pattern. I don't know what this is called in English, and I want to try and see if I can show you the difference in the stitch, but I don't think I don't know. I think eventually every stitch gets a yarn over, but not in every repeat. I don't even really remember. I would have to look it up. It's a very old piece in my wardrobe. And yeah, well, I'm looking up because this is where I can see the camera image. So don't be distracted. This is, well, yeah, this is an old piece, and I can't really decide to get rid of it because somehow I like it, and I haven't worn it that much. I am at a loss to tell you the yarn that this is. There in Germany, there's a knitting magazine called Rebecca, and that's where I found this pattern. Well, over 10 years ago. It must have been over 10 years ago. Something along it must have been, hold on. I know, Francie, if you are watching, hi. I borrowed the needles, which are size 10 millimeter needles, which now I don't know what that would be in. I'll look it up because it's gigantic. Hold on. So that's the size US 15. So I didn't have needles that big, and I borrowed them from my friend Francie. So it must have been in 2010 or 11 when we worked together at the same store. And that's when I knit this. And I got the yarn that was recommended in the pattern. And I got it from a store in Berlin that they carried that package for that magazine. Like they had a sort of kit ready, just the yarn, not anything else. And I knit it in those gigantic needles, and I remember wearing it, but I haven't worn it that much over the years. It gives you a lot of volume, as you can see. So this is really for when it's cold out. I love it though. I don't know the yarn, the content. I don't know what it is. It's very warm. I'm sure it's not only wool. There must be some other content in there, but it's not purely acrylic. I know that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't wear it much, but I can't bring myself to donate it or give to someone. I love the color. That's right. That's sort of my favorite shade of pink. I also love the fabric, but yet somehow I don't really wear it that much. I don't know. I sometimes forget about it because all of my shawls are stored in a closet, and then I pull them out as I need them in winter. And well, that never gets pulled out, which tells me I should donate it or give it to someone, but I can't really bring myself to do it. Anyway, so that is a very old project. I don't think it's even on Ravelry. I don't have any information on that whatsoever. I don't have that magazine anymore that I knit from, so that I got the pattern from, but that is one of the oldest shawls that I have. I used to knit scarves quite a lot when I was in school. So, and I mean school, not college. When I was 13, 14, 15, 16, I knit quite a lot of shawls, scarves, both for myself and for friends. So I gifted a handful of them. I remember that. Yeah, really quite a lot. So I want to say all my really good friends got scarves at some point. And when one of my friends lost hers, because at a club she was going to or something, and then when she went to pick up her stuff, the scarf was gone. She was really, I don't want to say heartbroken over it, but she was pretty sad that it was gone. And I think she felt a little bad that it was hand knit, and then, and like she owed me to keep it or something like that. And I knit her a new one, which was different, but also I think she also liked it. Yeah, anyway, so I was a big scarf knitter before as a teenager, when I didn't even know you could like knit shawls that have different shapes, and So, and then when I was still living in my old apartment, so that must also have, that's more than 10 years ago for sure. I knit this thing and I wear this a lot. So this is my, I don't know what it is called really, but in German, this sort of, well, what is it? It's not a bubble pattern, and it's not, what are those things that really come out? I was just thinking of the word now. Well, don't you just call them bubbles? Well, this in German, this is called Dornröschenmuster. I don't know what that is. It's not supposed to really bulge. So, and now this has been worn and washed a lot, so it lies a little flatter. But you can see how this has texture, but it doesn't really produce bubbles that really come out. But it's got a little bit of texture, but not a whole lot of texture. I think this was again from a knitting magazine. I don't know. I still have that pattern though. I don't remember the yarn though. It's obviously a gradient. It's definitely a commercial. And it's also wool with, I'm assuming, some other content in it. I love this a whole lot. And I've worn this so much. And I've also worn it over, in recent years. So I will put this on over my coat, and then this is going to be my shawl, and it's going to keep me warm. And I had leftover yarn, so I made a coordinating headband to go with it to keep my ears warm. This used to have a pattern, but I think I used the wrong pattern with the wrong yarn, so it kind of got lost. Sorry, blocking my mouth. So the pattern somewhat got lost in this, but I don't care. So it didn't knit it for the pattern, and I didn't want to include this bubbly pattern because I don't know why. Might have been cooler to just do that, but I just didn't. I don't know. It's been a few years, so I don't remember my thought process, but so this goes along with it, and then it's getting warm, and then that's that. Yeah. By the way, now that I look at it, this cardigan is not hand knit. This is store bought. The brand is Opus, and this is all I can tell you about it. So it's got a bit of a bat wing happening. So maybe you can see. Yeah, I like the style. I love this sort of bat wing shape. I desperately want to make at least one sweater that includes that. I just love it. I think it's incredibly comfortable, and it also looks kind of nice, so I really love that. I like the stitch of this cardigan. So this is what it looks like from the front, and believe you me, I have tried to figure out the stitch pattern, and I mean, I think you can. This is what it looks like from the inside, and I like the effect that when you wear it like this, you see sort of both of these. Oh man, this is hard. The darker version, and so the negative and the positive, I love black and white, and I like this sort of, well, can you see it on screen? I don't know. So it's kind of this pattern. Goodness, what is that called? Oh man, I'm at a loss for words today. So this is some geometric shape, which I don't think you can really see on screen, so it doesn't matter anyway. I tried to figure out this pattern. Other knitters have asked me, oh my God, did you knit that? And I said, no, sadly, and I don't know how you do that, but I like to think that eventually I am going to figure it out. Well, it's going to be quite a headache to do that, but I am sort of ambitious that way, that I want to master patterns in store-bought clothes. Then again, this will have to wait for a few years because I don't know. I don't think I have the brain space now to do it. Anyway, this was store-bought when I bought this when my oldest son was still a baby, so that will have been 7 years ago now. And I've worn this every spring and every fall because it's too cold for winter, it's too warm for summer, but I've worn this a whole lot. So this is my number one worn cardigan, I would say. So you're going to see this again on here, I assume. Another shawl that I knit quite some years ago. I remember exactly where I bought the yarn in Kreuzberg. I remember that it was also sort of a big box, what's it called, commercial yarn. I think it must have been Lang Yarns, so a big German company. I don't know the fiber content. I assume, again, it's a 50-50 sort of situation with wool and some sort of acrylic or nylon or God knows what. And here there's a little bit of sparkle in here. So I'm going to show you and then I'm going to tell you about the construction. So there you go. I got, and do you see how it glitters? So it's all over sparkly. It's not in your face, but sparkle never gets across on camera, but I think you can see here, right? So this was sort of a freestyle thing. Again, when my oldest son was very small, so it must also have been 7.5 years ago. 7.5 years ago when I bought the yarn, because I think he was about like a month old or something like that, or 2. It was like my first trip back to my old hood with my baby. I think that was the occasion. I had a friend of mine, the one who lost the scarf, the scarf, years before that. She came with me because I was so nervous going on like the underground and the train with the stroller, because I didn't want to go alone. That was, so long ago that I felt nervous about these things. So that's quite some time ago. I cast on, so I didn't use a pattern for this. I cast on here and then increased every other row. So this is knit and garter. So it was just knitting. I increased every other row along this edge, the top edge, and color blocked the colors that I bought. I think I bought, well, it will have been 3 skeins of the green and 1 of this pink one. And I wanted to color block the stripes. And that's what I did. And I have to say, I still like it. The issue is though, and I've worn this a lot, many a spring and many a fall, you've seen me running around in the shop. The fabric, I mean, you can tell because maybe you can. It's been washed a lot, so it looks, well, not felted, but the way that things just felt a little bit when you've worn them for some years and washed them again and again. But the thing is, when I put this on, and this is such a light shawl, this is really not, it looks voluminous, but it's not a lot of fabric. But when I put this on, it's really the wrong kind of colors for me. I feel like I haven't worn this in at least a year, maybe 2. And I used to wear this quite a lot before, but I feel like this is not my green. This is such a pea color. So like the peas you eat. I don't know. And this pink is also a little bit, well, not quite the pink that's my kind of color that I can really pull off. I mean, you can wear whichever color you want to, right? When I pulled this out today and put it on, I thought, and then my immediate thought was like, but screw that. I mean, I can wear whatever I want, it doesn't matter the skin type that I am, and is this in my color palette or not. I really wouldn't care if I were like a yellow person, but my skin tone wasn't that, and I would still enjoy wearing yellow. Do it, why not just do it? It doesn't matter. And if you enjoy color, you can always pull it off. I just don't know that I enjoy that green. And I would knit the same thing today, also in green and pink, but I would go for this sort of pink, which isn't that different, but it is different. and for a much darker green, the green that I prefer, which has a lot of blue in it. So not quite a tealy green, but like a really rich, dark forest green. That's what I would go for, one that has 0 yellow in it. So, and this is, I don't know, very pastel-y, and I'm not that much of a pastel person, I don't think. So I don't know what to do with that one. My heart kind of loves it, but if I wait for my daughter to be old enough to wear it, she's only 2 now, so that's a few years down the road before I can offer her this thing, and I don't know if she even likes it. So maybe it'd be better to just part with it, because why not? And make space for something new, make room for something new. I don't know. I'm still debating. But so that's one of my older shawls, and it's gotten a lot of wear, but I don't know what to do with it. Oh, and I skipped one. Okay, so we have to go back a few years. Not too many though, but to back when I was living in my old apartment. So again, this will have been, oh, this is even older. So this will have been like 12, 13 years ago for sure that I knit this. Again, in a large needle size, but not quite as large as this one. So that must have been something like 7 or 8, 6 to 8 millimeters, I would say. So in the range between a US 10 and 11. So something in that neighborhood, I assume. I did something on the edge that I cannot tell you now what that was. And I made the pattern up as I went. Again, this was some commercial yarn that I picked up at a store in Friedrichshain, and it's a cowl. There you go. You wrap it around twice. I'm going to show you the pattern a bit more up close so you can actually see it. There you go. So I made this pattern up as I went, and this is really not hard. So I think it was something like 9 knit stitches and then 3 purl stitches, and so 9 and 3 and then 9 and 3 again, and so on. And the stitch count is divisible by 9 plus 3 minus 1. So divisible by 12 minus 1. So that in the last row you end up with only 8 knit stitches before you hit the first purl. So you knit that purl stitch, and then you purl your next 3, the last of which is a knit stitch from the previous row. And so the whole pattern shifts by 1 stitch. And then when you get there again, you will again have 1 stitch too few. Well, you're going to be short 1 stitch. So the entire pattern is going to shift over again by 1 stitch. And so this spiraling effect comes to be. So, and I knit this as a cowl. And I'm showing you this now, like the headband, just because, is that what you call it, headband? I think it is. Because it's the coordinating piece. I knit a hat, and I have to say, I really love this hat. I really do. And I find it pretty flattering too when I wear this hat. Like, I love this color. I have worn those over the last years, but I think I know that I've worn the hat more, for sure. So that's gotten more wear than the cowl. Still enjoy the cowl though, and I don't have a love affair with cowls. I really don't, but this one I do enjoy, and I will keep that for sure. And the hat is definitely a keeper because I really love it. And now I'm already down to my last 2 shawls. And if you ask me, and I say this with a lot of humility and humbleness. What's the word? Well, I don't want to brag about those, but I think they're spectacular. I really love them. And having said that, I haven't worn them in a winter or 2 or 3, possibly, which is ridiculous. And I've been thinking about them all winter long, but I didn't take them out of storage to put them on. And that is so stupid, because now it's getting too warm to put them on, because they're gigantic and they're mohair and they're so good. I'm going to show you. Okay, here goes. Isn't that so good? Oh man, isn't that so good? Look at this pattern. Isn't that spectacular? I think this is so cool. This was, and let me put it on because it's it's a blanket. It's so big. It's got a lot of volume up front, down here. So I usually, with my triangular shawls, put them on like this, so I will tie a knot. And then this is really, you have your like fall or spring jacket on, and then you put this on, and you have this to show off this piece, right? Down the middle, or you can tilt it to the side, whatever you want. So, or of course you can put it around your back, but I don't ever end up really doing this except like in the evening on the couch when I'm cold, but then that would be the shawl that I would pull out. I don't know why, because I have sturdier ones, probably that's why. Anyway, so that, and I love it when I look at it now. I also love the color. This was the yarn was a birthday gift 4, 5, 6 years ago, something in that neighborhood. And so this pattern, no, hold on, first the yarn. So the yarn was, I mean, all the particulars should be on Ravelry, and you will, like I said, find those things below. Not for the super old ones, because I didn't use Ravelry at the time. I don't know if it existed, but I think it did, but I didn't know of it. And once I got to be on Ravelry, I didn't catalog everything that I had knit before. Some things, yes. I think like the dark red shawl should be on there, but I don't think that I have the yarn info, because I didn't have it anymore. I was a different kind of a knitter back then, so I didn't think that much about the different yarns. I didn't know that much about different yarns. Like I said, I didn't know there was such a thing as hand dyers out there, and I never thought to kind of catalog my knitting, you know what I mean. So, and this was knit in, a different sort of time for me. When I knew of Ravelry, I was on it. And when I was kind of getting deeper and deeper into that online knitting world, which is very different from that knitting world that is offline in Germany. So also the yarn stores in Germany, and I'm sure pretty much everywhere, but I can tell for sure for Germany there, you can tell when you walk in them whether they're involved in some way in that online knitting world or not. So I have one around the corner, but within walking distance. And that you can just tell that store is not aware of like people like Stephen West and stuff. And that is not to criticize them. There is nothing wrong with knitting offline, sort of. But that's so stupid, but maybe you know what I mean, with being more traditional and also local about your knitting. So with the online world is so much, the online knitting community and Ravelry and stuff so much has so much to do with like connecting internationally, and that offline more kind of down to earth traditional also commercial knitting world is so more that deals more with commercial yarns also has its place, right? There is nothing wrong with that. It's just that I find myself to be more interested in that other community that sort of branches out more. And I find it very inspiring to see everything that, collects on places like Instagram or specifically also Ravelry from all over the world. Yeah, and why am I telling you this now? I think because this was knit at a time when I became very aware of that internet knitting community and hand dyers and whatnot. And at the same time discovered that also in Germany there are German knitwear designers who have become so much more what's the word? Modern? Who have a foot in each of those worlds, right? The more online and the more offline one. And one of those people, one of the first one that I got to know, that I knew of, I don't know her personally, but that I got acquainted with her work and stuff, was Marisa Nöldeke. That's her name, and her handle is Maschenfein. So that's her brand, if you will. So that's her. Well, she started off blogging and then little by little she developed more and more patterns until she really kind of took over and wrote entire knitting books. I don't know really what she's up to now because I sort of lost sight of that. It's not so much on my radar anymore. But so she became quite a brand in Germany, and she developed quite a business here, a knitting business. And that was one of the patterns that I think really kicked it off for her. And so in Germany, people were knitting the shawl like crazy to my perception, like in my little bubble. People were knitting this like crazy. So this is called the Hinata shawl, and I can put this on the screen. I'm also putting it down below. I don't know whether there is an English version of this pattern. I have no idea. But so this is slips. I'm taking this off because it's getting really warm. But I love it. I should wear it more because I want to keep it on. So this is slip stitches and garter stitch, right? You can see. So, and the slip stitch parts are tighter just because slip stitch does that. And the garter sort of relaxes more. And that's how you get that wavy texture. If I were to knit this again, and I really would love to, I would really just in the end give it a soak and then lay it flat to dry, just pulling it in shape ever so slightly, because I think I pulled a little too much on this, because I was afraid that it was going to be super bulgy, the garter parts, and then really cinch in on the slip stitch parts. And now immediately after blocking, I realized, not blocking, I didn't pin it down, I think, but I really pulled it in shape. And immediately after blocking, I realized that was a mistake because it's not going to bounce back, and the more texture would have been much more of an effect still. So I would really say be super, super, super cautious when you block this. In fact, don't block it at all. Just give it a wash, lay it flat to dry. Don't touch it too much because it's going to do its magic, But so yeah, that was all the craze for a while. Everybody and their mother knit it, and I don't regret having jumped on that bandwagon because I think it's just stunning. To me, it's just so, so beautiful. So again, here it is in all its glory. Love it. The yarn is, I am pretty sure, Lamana, and whatever their mohair is, Kuzi, that, I think that's there. I'm going to put it down below for you. So, and this was ordered off of Maschenfein's internet page by my mother-in-law, who gifted me this what's it called? Kit. So again, that was not a kit with like needles in it, but just the yarn. So that was 3 balls each. So I'm assuming 75 grams of each color. And she gifted me that for my birthday, and yeah, I picked the colors out. It was so cool. It was such a good gift. I said, what I want is yarn for this shawl. And she said, okay, then go tell me what I have to order, what you want. And I picked those colors out. And at the time I was in a knit group where one lady knit this shawl with leftover mohair yarns. And I think she had 4 colors and she switched them around. So it was like fall color palette. So she had a yellow, a sort of a purpley red, green, and orange, I think. And then she paired 2 colors together for this stripe, right? Because you knit 1 stripe and then, or no, not stripes, but so how do you start? I think you start at the bottom, at this little tip, and then you knit your way up and it becomes wider and wider and wider. But as you go, you create these sort of stripes, right? Or these parts where, like this is where I would say 1 stripe ends and then the next begins. And whenever a new set of triangles began, she would introduce 2 new colors and drop the other 2. And then had she gone with, like, say, pink and orange, and she would go with green and yellow, and then maybe with pink and green. And so it would not always be the same combination, but every color would eventually be paired with every color. And that looked so amazing. So I'm really intrigued just to do that, to not go with just 2 colors because I have that now, but to really play with more colors. And I mean, if ever there was a pattern that invites a little bold color play and where you can really try out something new, this is the one. Marisa was even, so the designer was even stopped at some yarn event, I think in Hamburg, well, back when she designed this, by Stephen West, who commented on this design. Oh no, hold on. It was not this, it was this one. Because this has a precursor, but they were knit by me around like at the same time. I don't know which went first. I think this one was the second Hinata and this one was the first. So yes, she designed the one that I'm showing you now first. And I think I also knit it first. And from this design, she took the inspiration for the other one. So this is very similar. And this is very big. I'm going to show you. Hold on. So I'm going to show you half the thing. Imagine it double. There you go. And there you go. So this is the entire shawl. Hold on. I hope you could see that. Isn't that so good? Oh, isn't that just so amazing? Oh, look at this. Beautiful. I think it is amazing. So you see again that this is slip stitches and this is garter. But well, what's the name of that geometric? I have to look that up. Oh, no, I can't now. Oh, I can't. Of that geometric shape, Raute in German, and that's the name of that shawl, Rautenschal. But what is that in English? Oh man. Hold on, I'm sorry. Diamond. Okay, so apparently this is called a diamond shape, from what I gather. So there you go. So then that would be her diamond shawl. I don't know, Rautenschal in German. Again, I don't know if she has this in English, this pattern. She should by now, but yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely going to link all of this in the show notes. So there you go. This took me forever. I remember we had a long car ride because we went to see friends or went on holiday or I don't know what. And I had quite some time in the car to knit on this. This was when my second son was still very little, I think. And it seemed to me like after the very long car ride, I had made no progress or close to none. Like I had knit 5 centimeters or something like that. And so this was really a labor of love, a long project, but I plowed through and I was rewarded, I want to say. I picked a very dark blue and the sort of pink that I really love, sort of very light pink. And I went with the big version. There's a small and a big version of that shawl. Of course, I couldn't resist and went for the big one. And the end up with something like this, which I have to say, in terms of volume, is right up my alley. And then you can style it whichever way you want, and you have a big thing. I don't mind the mohair so close to my neck. I don't. You have to be a mohair person for that, or go with a different fiber, right? My friend Francie, hi again, she knit this out of, well, something like merino superwash. I don't know if it was that, but it was something very similar if it wasn't that. And that obviously that also works, right? This was designed originally in mohair and I went with that. But if you're not a mohair person, I would not hesitate to knit this in like whatever you find comfortable around your neck. I have to say, however, this is not as nice of a mohair as the blue one here. The Lamana one is very soft to the touch. Just very nice. Very nice. This one is, what is that now? Is this also Lang Yarns? It may be. It is Kid Silk mohair, I think. Anyways, so this is a commercial brand, and it's much more, it's much less luxurious. It is a bit more itchy scratchy, which I feel that difference. It's just that I don't mind it as much or at all. But if I were to go back now, I would pick a different fiber. Like I would pick I want to say a better mohair, like a more, like a softer, finer mohair, I think. But it's also pricey because you hold, how is this here? No, this is the blue one, it's just one strand. But I think here I held them double. Oh, I want to leave this on. This is so good. Yeah, you do. You hold the yarn double. So you go through quite a lot of yarn. You hold it double, and I mean, look, it's a beast. Again, I'm gonna see how this is my wingspan and this. So this is about 2 meters long. All right. So yeah, wider than I could stretch my arms. So I love it so much. It's a question of like, how much do you want to invest, or how much can you invest in this pattern? And yeah, I went with the yarn that's suggested in the pattern. Later on, she went on to use the Lamana Kuzi. I think it's Kuzi. No, Kuzi is a coarser mohair that they have. I'm gonna find it out and put it down below for you, or even on the screen. So anyways, I went with the recommended yarn in both cases. I like that one better, but that doesn't take away from the beauty of this. I love the colors. I think I remember how I really brooded over the decision, like which colors am I going to go with? And I debated pink and green, even though light pink, dark green, not like a pink and green situation like my other triangular shawl, which I wouldn't pick again today. But I'm very happy that I landed with one of my favorite color combinations, and that is blue and light pink, which is why I'm using this for my festive yoke sweater by Skein Knits, which I haven't seen in a while and I haven't worked on, but I do desperately want to go back to it. So yeah, this is a color combination that also really truly has my heart. Yeah, I love it. And it's not as much of a clash as black and white would have been, even though this would be stunning in black and white, just like like all the geometric shapes, they also kind of call for this clash of colors that black and white brings, or things like, well, everything with white, really. Red and white would also look really cool. It's just that I was more comfortable with that sort of warmer combination, I felt like. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that is my Rautenschal. I think her, Marisa Nöldeke's best design by far. She has put out at least 2 books with shawls, and I cannot say I'm a fan. The Hinata was in her first book, and that is a fantastic pattern. Also very well written, so there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's just that the aesthetic of many of the other shawls was not really for me, and that's okay, it doesn't have to be. But those 2, I think, are really, from the things that I know now, I don't know what she's recently come up with, but the things that I am aware of are definitely her best pieces, and I'm so glad I knit them back then. The Hinata is definitely definitely, but from what I gather, the piece that has been knit most out of those 2, and maybe overall from her patterns. I don't know. It was quite a trend at the time. And like I said, I'm so glad I jumped on that bandwagon. I wouldn't have missed it for the world, because I really do think it's so, so good. But yeah. Well, I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, I totally forgot what I wanted to say, but I wanted to say that this pattern never quite got the attention that I thought it deserved, because then the Hinata came out, and so that was overshadowed a bit, which I never fully understood why. But you know, everybody doesn't have to have the same taste. I know that. So yeah. Hey you guys, this is editing me jumping in to say that I forgot to show you one of my essentials in my shawl collection. So I'm going to put this little video snippet that I'm filming right now somewhere in the episode. Sorry for the mix-up and for the little interruption, but I do not want to leave this episode sort of unfinished by omitting one of the really essential pieces. So here is one of my most worn shawls. I knit this when I was pregnant with my second child, and I finished it by my birthday in late September. So that was in 2017. So in the summer and very early fall of 2017 is when I knit this. The little noises that you hear coming from my daughter who's home. And if there's construction noise, it's because in the restaurant downstairs in the apartment building that we live in, they're renovating everything because there's a new owner and so on. Because there's a new owner coming in, so I'm sorry if you can hear that, which I'm sure you can. So I knit this in 2017. It's the Campside shawl. So this is the Campside shawl by, I don't know the name of the designer. Could be Kemper Ray, but that could be completely wrong. So I'm linking my project page for this down below for sure. And I'm going to show you the piece and then we can talk about it. Here it is, my triangular Campside shawl. This is just, well, it just incorporates an eyelet lace pattern that sort of, so they become narrower and narrower, smaller and smaller. So it's a pattern that consists of a whole lot of charts, which in the beginning they look very intimidating, but in the end they don't anymore. You work your way through them and it turns out to be pretty easy, even if in the beginning you're like, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? So they look sort of like this in the beginning, and then they get spaced closer together, and in the end you have this, I don't know if you can really see, but you have this passage where they are really close together. And yeah, I love this color. The yarn is Malabrigo. I don't know the base. I bought it when I first went to Hamburg to my niece, to the store. Well, it must also have been, oh no, it must have been 2016, something like that, or maybe 2017. I don't think so though. Anyway, quite a while ago. And it's a superwash yarn. I remember that I thought it felt very soft in my hands. It looked just very, very nice. The color, I'm pretty sure, is called teal feather. I used up 2 skeins almost entirely. So this is how I usually wear it. I wear it in transitional seasons, not so much when it's really cold out. And I wear it at home a lot. So this is really a shawl that I put on at home very often when I feel chilly around the house. And often I have like neck tension and stuff, so it's important to keep my neck warm. And this is just perfect for it. So I mean, now it's already a little heavy because we're really in spring. Yeah. That's why we didn't camera stehen. Sorry for the shaky camera because my daughter is just right underneath it, and I think she's moving the tripod a little bit. So it's a total bare bones situation today. Anyway, so I better wrap this up. I just wanted to include this piece. So this is Malabrigo, teal feather. The pattern is the Campside shawl. This must have been knit in, well, I don't know, 3.5, 4mm needles. It should be on my Ravelry page, which I'm linking down below for you. I really can recommend this pattern. It looks intimidating at first, but it isn't hard to, well, to read through the different charts. Isn't hard to figure everything out, and then it isn't hard to knit. It's just tiny little eyelet patterns. So it's meant for a bigger gauge. I think it's meant for a DK weight. I used or maybe even worsted, I don't know. It's meant for a bigger gauge, but I used the yarn that I had, and I added a repeat somewhere. I don't know where, but I added a repeat to make it a little longer, just so that it would have a little more volume. I mean, you can see it's not gigantic, but it's substantial enough to count as a real shawl. And now I'm going to have to stop this video because the situation is getting... It's getting totally out of hand. Sorry. Mama, this is such a mess. See you soon, guys. Bye. Okay, so I'm assembling my stuff for like a little group photo at the end. So all of my shawls can be, all of my shawl babies, which are about to fall off my knee, can say goodbye in the camera, because this is it. This is my entire collection. If you've watched my last video, you will now know my entire shawl collection, except for the ones that have just jumped off my needles and are about to just be cast on. Here you go. Oh, look at them. A proud shawl mother. Okay, guys, so that was that. I'm gonna fan them out, and I'm interested, as always, in hearing your non-Stephen West shawl favorites. So last video I asked you about because that was the Stephen West shawl episode, about your favorite Stephen West shawls, or others, obviously, but yeah, to get a bit more inspiration. And now if you have non-Stephen West shawl patterns that, or you know, any shawl pattern that you fancy, or like your own recipe that you like to just use, or that you've made up, you don't have to tell me the recipe, but you know, or if you are a scarf knitter, because scarves are a thing. Just because everybody knits shawls doesn't mean that scarves aren't a thing, you know. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm always excited to hear other people's favorite patterns, or what they've just knit or cast on or bound off, for that matter. So yeah, I'm always now on the lookout for, especially now that I have rekindled my love of shawl knitting, for well, pattern inspiration. So if you feel like it, just drop me a line down below. And obviously also for all the other viewers, because they can go through the list as well. What else did I want to say? Yes, if you've enjoyed the episode, feel free to just like and subscribe right now below, and come back for another episode. That would be super fun. Thank you for letting me hang out with you today. and for, being interested in my little shawl special. Next time I'll be back with just a regular episode where I talk about those shawls that I've only just bound off and that need their ends woven in. So I was kind of glad I could, push that for a few days before I show you. And I want to have them ready on camera. So that's good. So that's going to give me a little kick in the butt to do that. And not have them, get neglected for too long. So, okay, guys, take out the shawls you haven't worn in a while, air them out, and then put them back in storage so you don't get any moth surprises and you get a chance to clean your closet. As a sort of take this as a spring cleaning incentive, because the knitters have to take care of their knits, right? And spring cleaning is kind of a good reminder for that. Okay, I hope to see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and let me tell you what you're working on and what your favorite shawl patterns are. Talk to you soon. Bye.